Poppy Playtime. Chapter 4 releases early 2025, and although we have no large teasers, I already know who the Chapter 4 villain will be. It all starts with Chapter 3. At the beginning of Chapter 3, Ollie tells us that there are no smiling critters left alive, but as we progress, we learn that that isn't true because we encounter Dog Day later in the play care. Although this seems like a genuine mistake, it actually means that there's a chance that there's more smiling critters around the factory that are hidden from Poppy and her friends. Now you might be asking which smiling critters? Well, actually, we're pretty much told which ones are dead and alive because of the cardboard cutouts in Chapter 3. This is because we can compare Dog Day's cutout with the rest of them to determine which ones are alive. Take a listen.
Dog Day says, fetch! Go, go! As far as you can! Why are you just standing there? You can't be here. You can't stay.
Now from Dog Days, we know that screaming at the end doesn't mean that they are guaranteed to be dead, just mangled and hidden somewhere. But before we start crossing names out, we have to listen to Picky's cutout, which outright says which ones are dead.
Oh, chicken! Down the hatch! Bearded elephant! Yum! Slayed unicorn! Mmm!
This means that Kickin' Chicken, Bubba Bubba Fant, and Crafty Corn are dead. Okay, from all of this information, we can determine that Picky, Bobby, and Hoppy are still alive. But that also raises the question of where they're at and if they'll be friendly. Let's start with Picky. We know that from her cardboard cutout, she literally ate the other smiling critters and actively wants to eat us as well. So I have a feeling that she is on the prototype side from that, and might have even been the one to kidnap Kissy at the end of Chapter 3. Next, we have Bobby, who we're actually given a lot of information about. Take a listen to her lines from her cardboard cutout.
I've been lost a long time. Please, take me with you this time. You won't leave me, will you?
We know from this that Bobby knew us before in the factory and has waited for us for all of this time. She seems a little bit crazy though, so I can't tell if she's going to be on our side or on the prototypes because of how long she's been waiting. Well, that leaves us with Hoppy, who is very similar to Dog Day in the sense of her cardboard cutout. Just like Dog Day, she was trying to help people out of the factory during the hour of joy or before. We know this from Dog Day's line, "Go fetch and don't come back," and Hoppy's anger on making sure whoever she is teaching to jump correctly, most likely to just over debris to get out of the factory. Her cardboard cutout ends with a scream, meaning that she is also injured like Dog Day and is probably under a lot debris, waiting to die. Well, that's the original smiling critters out of the way, so we know that at least one of them will be at least a mini antagonist like Miss Delight. So if we have that solved, then who will the main antagonist be? Well, actually, from the recent teasers, we can narrow it down to be what I call the amalgamation. Let me explain. So far, the only teasers we got for Chapter 4 have been the poem found in the chapter recap videos on Mob's YouTube channel, which goes on felted feet and with bated breath. Sleep draws ever near, but I am not afraid of death. Over paths turning clear. This poem is interesting because it perfectly describes Catnap's and Huggy's journey after they were defeated by us. Beginning with Huggy, he chased us with felted feet. Then he fell directly on his chest, breaking his ribcage, hence the bated breath. He also ended up somehow surviving the fall with severe injuries. But instead of succumbing to death, he kept moving forward throughout the factory on a specific path, it seems. Hence the seemingly random vents that we see blue fur and blood on. This most likely lead him to the prototype, where he finally gave up and succumbed to his reign. After Huggy, we have Catnap, who had a similar journey. Because he is a smiling critter, he has felted feet, which he used to hunt us with, making little noise, and when he was hunting his, he used bated breath to not draw our attention. After we electrocute him, however, we see that he is not afraid of death by him allowing the prototype to kill him before he succumbs to his injuries, and then his path is pretty clear now because there's only one which is to the prototype's bidding. From this, we can tell that Mob wants us to specifically know that the prototype has Huggy and Catnap. But why is this important? We already know he accumulates whatever he grabs from us because of what Mommy says. But wait a minute, let's go back to Huggy. We never see Huggy directly get taken by the prototype. And from my guess, Mob is going to pull a JJK and bring back Huggy. This is because of number 1, Huggy's marketability, and number 2, his evil redemption. Think about it. We know Huggy has the capability to be just as intelligent as Kissy, but chose not to. Now you might be asking, how is he going to come back? We see him break every bone in his body. Well, do you remember when Kissy was kidnapped in Chapter 3? Well, Kissy is currently the only direct match to Huggy that we know of, meaning that the only way that Huggy can be repaired is getting transplants from her, possibly causing both of them to either merge or just for Kissy to die. Either way, Huggy would look a lot more like Nightmare Huggy than the original Huggy we know and love. But wait, if Huggy is alive, then what about Dog Day? I mean, we don't see him die. He just tries to chase us out of the playhouse. Does that mean that he's alive? Short answer, maybe. Long answer, listen to me and determine for yourself. Let's start off with our Dog Day's death. We know that his insides got eaten by the mini critters who then proceeded to possess Dog Day and chase us. After we get away, we hear screaming, but we don't directly see a death. This means one of two things. One, the mini critters went out of his body, and Dog Day is just a lifeless husk. And two, the mini critters are still in Dog Day and still trying to kill us. I believe that it's more likely that the mini critters didn't leave Dog Day because W still have the flare gun in our inventory. I mean, think about it. Why would we need to use the flare gun if not to scare away the critters or barely light up an area? I believe that Dog Day will come back and chase us down, and we will have to scare him off by shooting him with the flare gun, which would work because of all of the mini critters in him. Think of it like the Miss Delight fight mixed with the catnap fight. That's what fighting Dog Day will be like. But from all of this, you might be asking how and why would we be encountering all of these previous villains, and past that, who will the main villain be? Well, we can actually answer all of those questions with Poppy. I know she'd been quote-unquote helping us this whole time and has been on our side, but there is just too much evidence that she is working with the prototype. Our first piece of evidence is from the Chapter 2 recap video, where we hear Harley say that she has learned to betray people for her own benefit, and judging by the way she betrayed, we can tell when she is trying to do it again. With this, our second piece of evidence is, at the end of Chapter 3, Poppy said a few very specific lines which were, "There's something I haven't been telling you and this wasn't part of the plan." Okay, let's think for a minute. Poppy is leading us and only us down to the middle of nowhere where the prototype's main body is, while also not taking the time to tell us the apparent plan she had with Kissy. I mean Simon. That just sounds like something out of an action movie with the twist villain being the random, overly friendly side character. Past this, she had a lot of time to think about the prototype's plan while she was hidden away. And if she was actually logical enough, she would realize that killing the prototype will do nothing but just fast forward the inevitable. The prototype's plan is to slowly starve all of the toys so that they don't have to be suspected to more torture and can die around the only people who actually love them. This is because if the toys go out of the factory, they will be experimented on and most likely killed in another cold and dark lab. This plan sounds good, it sounds reasonable, and then Poppy for some reason says, screw that, let's kill the prototype for no reason at all. I mean, think about it for a minute. The toys that constantly tried to kill us were the toys that weren't even directed by the prototype to do so. You might say that Catnap tried to, but he literally said to us the equivalent of, "Hey dude, leave Think Place so my boss doesn't have to kill you." So far, we know that Catnap was the only one who actually was directed by the prototype to protect something. Not to even kill us, but to protect something. And before some angry Discord mods comment, well, actually, Mommy Longlegs and Huggy also were under the prototype's rule. No, they weren't, because we know that Mommy wasn't informed by the prototype, hence the scrapped audio files that say. And also the fact she said she doesn't want to be a part of him. And we know that Huggy was literally only hungry and had no consideration if we were a human or an animal. So with this raises the question of why is Poppy trying to stop the prototype? He literally isn't doing anything but protecting his people and making sure they all die good deaths. Well, I have a theory that she is actually working with Harley Sawyer. I know that sounds pretty absurd, but think about it for a minute. We know Harley is still alive because of the chapter recap videos, and we know that he probably wants to research the prototype specifically. This would lead him to get the only inside link he could find Poppy to make a deal with him. Harley would propose that if she can get him the prototype, then he will spare the rest of them he toys and let them roam free. But I have a sneaking suspicion that Harley isn't going to keep up to that deal and will actually try to betray Poppy at the end, resulting in us teaming up with all of the toys, good and bad, to kill Harley and end their suffering by burning down the factory, leaving our past behind. But that's just a theory, a Poppy Playtime theory. Click this video to know more about every other theory I'll be releasing until Chapter 4's release.